Hi everyone, my name is Myra and welcome. Before I start, let me just say I got my eyebrows microbladed yesterday, so they look totally discombobulated and super dark. Totally irrelevant to this video, but since you're gonna have to enjoy my eyebrows for the next couple of weeks looking like this, I just thought I should let you know. Anyway, so I have been seeing this best and worst books of 2016 video going around in just about everyone's channel, and then I thought about it and I thought, well, I actually don't have one of those videos. Maybe I should make one. So here we are, end of January, almost February, and I have a worst books of 2016/2015 for you. Because I obviously don't have one for 2015 because I was not part of, you know, the YouTube booktube world. So I thought I have a list for 2015 and I have just like 2 books for 2016, so I'm just gonna like mash them together and make this list of worst books that I've read in the past 2 years, and that's what I'm gonna do today. So this is not to say that these books are actually bad books, this is just to say that I really didn't like these books and maybe even hated them, which doesn't mean that they are not likable books. So if you like them, we can still be friends, right? Alright, so let me just get started with my 2015 list of books, and the first one in this list, it is Brace Yourselves, Paper Towns by John Green. I know, okay, everybody take a seat, take a deep breath. I know John Green is a beloved author. I mean, I understand why, you know, the guy wrote Fault in Our Stars, and you know, we all know the success that that book had. And actually, this was not a book that I actually hated, this was just a book that I really disliked, mostly because I really did enjoy the first half of the book. However, once the storyline got to like the midpoint, I was sort of kind of stuck in a rut where I was not enjoying it and I stopped having fun with the story. If you don't know the story of Paper Towns, basically it follows this group of friends that are on the search to find this girl. Her name is Margot, who apparently ran away from home, but the guy protagonist of the book, because yes, I totally forgot his name, sorry, he believes that she didn't really just run away because she wanted to. He believes that she is like in deathly danger or something, and so it makes it his mission to go out and find her because nobody else is trying to find her. So he gathers all these clues that she left behind, and he gathers his group of friends, and they are on the search of finding her in the last days of high school, while graduation and prom and college is going on in the background. As I said, the first half of the book I really did enjoy. Going towards the middle, I was kind of blah about it, and then going towards the end, I was just totally underwhelmed by the grand finale that this book had. So yeah, that's the first book in this list. Book number 2 in this list would be The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This is actually a book that I read because I watched the movie first. I did. I am guilty and I do that sometimes, and you know what? That's totally fine. So yeah, I read The Lovely Bones first and I thought it was a pretty neat story. Not in the sense that it was a happy story, but just in the sense that it was an intriguing story that just caught my attention. And so then I picked up the book thinking, well, the book is always better than the movie, so this must be great. No. If you have not watched the movie The Lovely Bones or read the book, what the story is about this girl who is abducted in the 1970s by a neighbor, and then she is murdered. So that's like the beginning of the story, and after her death the story actually continues into seeing how her family reacts to her murder and how the guy that committed the crime moves along with his life, and how she sees her family and her world from her heaven. And so there's a lot of like family conflict and a lot of like family relationships that are explored, and it's pretty interesting. Again, the first half was good, but once we got to the middle part of this book, it just felt like a lot of pages of unnecessary information or material that was not really very relevant or interesting to the storyline. As a side note, I'll just say that what the movie did is that they basically took the first half of the book and they made that the whole movie, which I think was a pretty smart move, because again, the last half of the book was just pretty much fluff. Anyway, this was another book that I did not necessarily hate, but I just didn't like and was thoroughly disappointed with and underwhelmed by. Book number 3 in this list is also from 2015. Most of these are from 2015, I'm sorry. So book number 3 in this list is The Program by Susan young. I was gonna say Susan Collins, and I'm like, nah girl, that's the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games were magical and amazing. Susan Collins, no. The premise of this book pretty much revolves around this futuristic epidemic where teens are targeted with depression. So teens start getting depressed, and apparently this epidemic is contagious, and a teen can pass on their depression to the next teen if they are in close proximity or if they make interaction with one another. And then on the other side of that, there is the adult world that are trying to contain this epidemic by establishing the program. Of course, this was established by the government. And so what the program pretty much does, if you are, you know, depressed, they take you into this facility and they wipe away all your memories so you forget why you were depressed to start off with. So the premise on its own with this book is just a little iffy and uncomfortable, and I did not really appreciate it, although it seems enticing. The way that mental health is painted in this book, I don't think it's doing us any favors. Also, the way that treatment is painted in the story is also really bad. One of the things that I really disliked about this book, it has just about every YA trope that I dislike. It has kind of a love triangle happening. It has this unrealistic love relationship between these two teens. It has snowflake characters. It has snowflakes relationships, and that is one thing that I do want to talk about that it really bothered me for whatever reason. If you haven't read it and you're planning on reading it, just skip this part. I will do 2 thumbs up when it's good for you to listen to this video once again. So there are the 2 protagonists that are each other's love interests. They are in high school and they are in love, and one of them goes through the program and comes back out, and when he comes back out, he is automatically attracted to his girlfriend who he's not supposed to remember. And even though he does not remember her at first, over time he kind of picks up that he actually has this deep emotional connection with her, which, I mean, alright, it's kind of weird, but let's go with it. However, what bothers me is that there is another couple that are side characters that are also deeply in love, and that when the girl goes off to the program and comes back, she cannot recall her boyfriend who she was madly in love with. What bothers me is the question, why is the protagonist's love relationship more important than the side character's love relationship? How come he can actually remember her and she can't remember him? Is it devaluing love because they are side characters and these are protagonists? And I get it's a way to advance the plot, but it just bothered me a lot. Okay, now you're free to come back. I am done spoiling anything. So those are the basic problems I had with that book. Again, this is one of those that I went past the point of disliking it into like pretty much hating it. I really didn't like it. I am not planning on finishing the rest of the series. Obviously, I only read that one book, and I have not picked up a second one, and I don't plan on doing so. Now, the next book that I want to talk about is actually a book that I actually do hate. I don't like it. It bothers me a lot. I hated it. And this book is The Selection by Kiara Cass. Ugh. And even talk about it without getting frustrated about it. So if you haven't heard of The Selection, that's probably a good thing. But let me tell you what this is kind of about. So the gist of The Selection, just to give you an idea, is pretty much a futuristic monarchy dystopian with a bachelor mashed together. So the story picks up when the Prince of America, which is where it takes place but with a different name, he is of age and he is trying to find a proper queen or wife. Now when the prince is ready to pick his wife, there is a contest happening, which is why I say it's like The Bachelor. So girls from all over the country submit applications and photos as to who they are in order to make it into the selection to compete for the prince's heart. The main character of her story is America Singer because she sings and because she lives in America. Anyway, she goes into this already in love with somebody, and once she gets into the contest and meets the prince, she kind of feels a thing towards Prince. So there's a love triangle happening along with insta love. Okay, so this is where the story picks up and it just takes off from there. There is some political stuff happening in the background of the story, but really not much. So what this really is a romance novel about a girl trying to make up her mind as to who she actually loves. And that in turn turns out to be very frustrating because America is one of those characters that really does not know how to make decisions. She cannot stick to one and she cannot make one to start off with. It's very frustrating, and that is one of the main reasons why I dislike this book so much. Along with the fact that I'm not really into romance novels, I'm also really not into frustrating characters, and this was one of them. She was awfully insufferable and she just, again, she couldn't make up her mind about anything. Nothing in her life. It was just very very frustrating, and I did not like it. This is one of those that I really did kind of hate. So that is that for the selection. Now finally moving on to the books that I really did hate from 2016. I only have 2, and so let me just start talking about them and why I hate them. So the first book from 2016 that I really didn't like, and I believe I did hate, from what I remember, is Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. She has a difficult name. Anyway, so this book I really didn't like for a varying amount of reasons. Number one was that given the title and given the cover, I assumed and thought it would be an Alice in Wonderland retelling with zombies in it, right? And that sounds pretty cool. And so I picked it up thinking it was this, and actually I picked it up because I saw it being recommended on BookTube by a booktuber, obviously, because she really liked it. And I mean, that's totally fine, but I thought I would really like it too, and turns out I didn't, again because my expectations were set on Alice in Wonderland retelling with zombies, and I thought that was really cool, and then I didn't get that. I just got another story of another snowflake YA character who happens to be super special. Just to be fair on this, even though it was not an Alice in Wonderland retelling, it did have certain elements that were reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland, such as her friend whose name was Cat, that I think was referring to the Cashmere Cat. I can never pronounce that name. Along with that, there was also a cloud in the shape of a bunny, and there was a clock ticking element, and the main protagonist's name was Alice, and in the cover she does look like Alice. From what I can remember, those were the only elements that were kind of reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland, but they were not enough, okay? If you go in this book not expecting an Alice in Wonderland retelling, you might like it. Again, I attribute much of my dislikeness because I was expecting something completely different from what I ended up getting. I haven't actually told you what this book is about. I am so sorry, I've just told you why I really don't like it. So anyway, this story picks up with this girl and her name Alice, and she happens to be able to see zombies where not everybody else can, so only special people are able to see these monster-like creatures, and they just assume they are zombies because they behave like zombies, and I think they are. Anyway, after some tragic events happen, she ends up moving to a different high school where she meets this elite zombie slayer squad, very coincidentally. Anyway, when she gets to the school and she meets them, she also meets the love interest who they just have a really bad, unhealthy relationship. Half of the time they ended up either slaying zombies together or making out, and it was just very annoying because there was not much of any actual dialogue going on between the two, so I did not really understand how it was that they fell in love with, other than you're hot, you're pretty hot too. It just didn't sell me on the romance element. So anyway, they fight zombies, and she, being somebody that has never even picked up a weapon, happens to very naturally pick up this zombie slayer habits and like movements and like fighting skills, and it's just kind of like, really? I can't even do a burpee. How come you're able to kill zombies with like 2 days worth of training? It doesn't make any sense. Now, the last book that I wanted to talk about in this list is a book that we read for our book club at work. It is called Blood Crazy by Simon Clark. This is a book that I thoroughly hated it, and I'll say that I even kind of sort of DNF'd it. Not really, because I kind of skipped around all the way to the end, but I did skip a whole bunch of chapters and parts. But it was a book that I just really didn't like, and I hated the reading experience of it. I did not like the writing, I did not like the characters, everything about it pretty much bothered me. So let me just tell you the story that this follows. So this is a post-apocalyptic book that follows teenagers around the country because adults, for some reason, turn into this bloodthirsty killer maimers that want to kill every teenager alive, and specifically they want to brutally murder their own children. To be honest, it didn't sound too bad based on the premise, but then I began reading it and I realized that I hated the writing. I felt it was sloppy and all over the place. All the characters were so unlikable. I did not like a single one of the characters, and the one character that kind of has some potential was painted off in a pretty like negative light. Lots of the explanations that they gave for what was happening didn't make sense. All of the characters were completely insufferable. It was a very frustrating book. It has very frustrating characters. Explanations don't make sense. I did not like the writing. You might like it. I didn't. and that's okay. Dare I say, this was the worst book I've read in a very, very, very long time. Might surpass the selection because I even happened to finish the selection and I wasn't able to finish reading this one. Anyway, those are the worst books that I have for you from 2015 and 2016. Anyway, I don't know why I didn't pick up the fact that these sort of videos actually happen, because it just makes sense that they do. But hey, a month later and I'm giving them to you. Better late than never, right? Also, please feel free to comment down below as to what your worst books of 2016 or 2015 or ever are, and we can have a discussion about it and talk about them. And if you happen to like one of the books that I mentioned, that's totally fine. Feel free to comment down below and we can talk about it. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you really did like it, feel free to click the red button down below and subscribe to my channel so you can, you know, see me all the time. That sounds really conceited. If you want to see more of these videos, just click down on the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day or week or month, depending on when I'm gonna see you next, which should be soon. Alright, you guys, well, in summary, have a fantastic day and I'll see you next time.